Yo, what is going on, YouTube? I am Germ here. We are back talking about MULLEN Automotive Incorporated once again. As you can see on the screen, this is ticker symbol MULN for those of you that don't know. And today was obviously not the best day in the world for MULLEN. We were down 2.86%. This was about 3 cents where we ended up closing. Now, after hours, we are up about a full percent. But again, after hours, you never really know what to make of it. You can never really read too much into it. Maybe there's some good momentum that carries over tomorrow, maybe not. And even if it does, maybe it has nothing to do with this after hours trading at all. Again, it's not really a significant amount of trading. Overall, it's pretty flat. And even being down 2.86% today is pretty flat as well. You know, MULLEN is usually a very, very volatile stock where you're going to see these 2 to 3% moves in both directions very often. Obviously, throughout much of 2022, they've been more in the downwards direction than the upwards direction, obviously, since we are down 82% year to date. But just as far as today individually being down 2.86%, it was a pretty red day in the market. Dow Jones down about 0.75%, S&P half, NASDAQ about 0.25%, and the Russell was barely green. So, you know, most stocks are going to be red when all the major indices are down. So it's not surprising that MULLEN is down, but obviously it sucks that they were kind of underperforming everything. But, you know, again, it's a volatile stock. These things are kind of to be expected to an extent. You just hope at some point in the future we end up having more of these green days and more of these outperforming days than not. But for now, that's just not the case. But in this video today, we'll be going over everything you need to know about MULLEN, catching you guys up to date on all of the latest. So definitely drop a like if you do enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. And subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Of course, as always, there's not going to be any financial advice in this video. I'm not telling you guys to buy anything. I'm not telling you guys to sell anything. Just going over some articles, some posts, some news, giving my thoughts and opinions. With that being said, let's get right into this. And kind of the biggest story of the day today and what people are talking about a lot is this post from the MULN MULLEN subreddit. They said, wow, scam stock? Seriously starting to question things. And there's this post, this picture that says 332,443,385. Obviously a very, very big number, but we're going to need some context here. What is going on? And they say that's the new number of shares of MULLEN as of 5/13/2022, according to your own 10Q report filed 5/16/2022. And again, this number, it's maybe big, maybe small. Who knows? It just depends what's going on. This could be good news if the number's going down. It could be bad news if it's going up. It could not really matter if it's mostly unchanged. We're going to need some context here, so obviously we need to dive a little bit deeper into this. We have this post as well talking about more dilution. Market cap is 344 million now, so did they issue 60 million more shares, which would obviously not be a good sign. But as I dug deeper into it, I don't know exactly how many shares every company in the stock market has off the top of my head, so I needed to do a little bit of research here. Went to Qualtrim Insights for MULLEN Automotive, MULN, obviously, as you can see. And here, obviously, they don't have the best information on MULLEN dating back, but here on March 31st, 2022, this is, you know, data that they're pulling straight from their reports and stuff. We have the fact that MULLEN reported having 289 million outstanding shares, which would be exactly what this person is saying, you know, the 60 million more shares outstanding. So I am inclined to, you know, kind of agree with that. But man, that is rough. Because again, if this is their new number and they added 60 million, that is around a 20% increase in shares. And that is really, really rough. It might even be greater than 20% increase in shares. Now that I'm, you know, kind of trying to do some quick mental math, but it's around a 20% increase in shares. That is a significant amount of dilution. And just as these comments talk about, you know, people kind of say, I can't find the comment I was looking for. Here it is. They say, I don't know why I can't find it. Somebody somewhere posted like, man, this is going to make it really, really hard to, you know, run up from here. Any kind of gains the stock has, any good news that comes out, any progress that the stock is going to make is going to be eaten alive by share dilution. If this is, first of all, if share dilution is happening at all, that's usually not a great sign. But for pre-revenue companies or kind of pre-profit companies, you know, sometimes you do have to dilute, and it's not always a bad thing as long as you have plans of making a ton of money, you know, doing some stock buybacks, dividends, whatever in the future. But right now, MULLEN is so far away from being a profitable company, and they're still a company that has been, you know, eaten alive over the past 6 months or less. Again, year to date, they're down 82%, and now they finally had a little bit of a run up from the 52-week lows of 52 cents up to over $1 now, and now their shareholders are people who are actually putting their money into this company and saying that they love it and support support it and are helping them get to those stages where they can potentially become profitable are now getting eaten alive by share dilution. And that feels really, really bad. And that is definitely a big, big, big concerning sign. Definitely not something I like to see, in any stocks that I'm getting involved with or thinking about getting involved with. But on some other news, we do have Ortex data coming out. This is at 2:25 p.m. Short interest had been up 2.5% with a, current short interest percent of the float being 8.66%. We then got some updated data a little bit later at 5:30. We were up to a plus 3.53 short interest change. So again, people are still definitely looking at this one as a short squeeze play. And that is what this Reddit post is obviously talking about as well. This guy says, hey, is MULLEN also a squeeze play? I'm invested in MULLEN for long-term investment opportunities. I've seen some posts about it being heavily shorted. I'm too lazy and occupied with my full-time job to dig and do DD on the squeeze potential. If it does squeeze, I'm going to buy back in. And this is super, super funny. The comments are like, hey, it doesn't take too much effort to scroll down this page or search short squeeze on the sub. And then, some other people say, hey, short interest is only 18%, so not really, but it could skyrocket. Isn't a short squeeze a very fast long-term investment? Some funny comments and stuff. But I do think that it is somewhat of a short squeeze play. Obviously, again, we've seen that short interest running up a little bit. Now, hey, is it GameStop levels? Is it AMC levels? Is it anything like that? No, but there could be, some kind of downward pressure on the stock as far as those shorts go. And if the stock does go on a little bit of run and some shorts start to get burned, I mean, it could kind of be a headwind into it, or a tailwind into it, continuing to go upward and upward. Again, it's not something I'm really looking out for and not something I would ever really love to get involved with personally as an investor, but I do think there is at least some case to be made that it squeezing on some hedge funds or some shorts or whatever has a chance to bring it up a little bit. But yes, I think for the most part, you really need to believe in the long-term growth, the long-term story and everything, and the fundamentals of MULLEN, again, which all of a sudden when you're seeing that share dilution, that's just kind of another red flag on top of a lot of other risky things with MULLEN. I think MULLEN is a very, very high risk, high reward type play. And some people are looking for risk. Some people are risk on. Some people, that's exactly what they want to do. They want to go big or go home. They have some extra money or they're just kind of at that stage. But for the people who are not looking for something quite so risky, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say MULLEN is necessarily a great choice. We did have this from investorplace.com, though. MULLEN Automotive stock could be this year's multi-bagger EV investment. If you're not mulling a stake in MULLEN around $1, you'll regret missing the profit train. So this is obviously very straightforward. They are on one side of things, and they're being, pretty direct in saying, hey, this thing is a steal of a deal at $1, and this has a chance to just go absolutely ballistic. Again, that's that high reward potential. Even people who think MULLEN, sucks or they're staying away from it or whatever, this is still a very, very small market cap, relatively cheap EV play that, could go crazy in the future. It absolutely could go to zero, but there is kind of two opportunities here. But MULLEN stock dropped below $1 not long ago. This looks like a buying opportunity as MULLEN issues multiple positive press releases, and investors should consider MULLEN's momentum in the vehicle electrification space and possibly enter into a long stock position. So that's at least what some people are saying out there about MULLEN right now. We also had this post which I thought was kind of interesting. They said Tesla's up and coming bad rep may be a great opportunity for MULLEN, and I don't necessarily agree with this. I think for the most part, the rising tide lifts all boats, and I think, when Tesla's doing good, that's good for the overall EV space. You see a lot of that trickle down into stuff like NIO. Obviously, we've seen the run up of stuff like Rivian and Nikola and all this other craziness in the EV world, and Lucid and stuff like that. And I think if Tesla takes a hit and kind of has some bad news or ends up being way mega overvalued or ends up being a disaster, it could be good in some ways for MULLEN to maybe eat up some market share or whatever. But I think if Tesla suffers, it might be bad for the EV, especially the more speculative EV makers and players overall. And I could also see how that could be a bad thing as well. I could see how it could be a good thing, but I kind of lean more towards it potentially being a bad thing. And then I wanted to end on this note. There's people on the MULLEN stock subreddit saying, hey, know this, the FUD is not about getting us to sell MULLEN. Wall Street wants us out of the market entirely because so far their cheating ways, shorting multiple companies, has resulted in them losing hundreds of billions of dollars. MULLEN is growing and still moving toward achieving their goals, and that makes the hedge funds angry and scared. So there is still people out there with hope. There is some people still holding on and some people who are very, very excited about the future of this stock. And it sounds like maybe even the market in general. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Tell me to drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about MULN. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then.